Hello, everyone. We're starting a series of lessons on error catching. Let's start with catching errors on the front end. Imagine this situation. You've developed something, tested it, and everything seems to work. It's deployed to production, and under some unusual condition, something breaks for your user. Their entire front end crashes. Yes, that can happen, right? And you wouldn't even know about it at this point in time. But you should know about such things when something breaks for your users, and see all the information about it, the error stack, and the place in the code where it happened. And for this, there is a special service called Sentry. You can install Sentry both on the front end and back end. We'll do this, but for now, only on the front end. It will catch high-level errors when your entire application crashes, and also allows you to send some errors manually if you've caught them yourself but want to report them. Okay. First, we need a Sentry account. We need to register it with our created email. So, ID and nickname. All right, it's a normal registration. I'll pause for now. Once we enter the personal account, I'll show where to get something like an API key. So, I registered, confirmed the email, and right after that I landed on this page. Let's figure it out. All right, we click Start Here. We are asked to choose a platform. We'll have two projects within Sentry, actually. One will be JavaScript for the browser, and the other will be Node.js, hence for the server. No frameworks really interest us here in principle, although perhaps on the front end we can specify React, but it won't really affect much. Let's choose React here. Okay? So we choose React, configure, SDK. Okay? And all we really need here is to copy this DSN. It's also somewhere in the personal account, but the main thing is that we need this one. We will send our error information through it. All right? We copied it and go to our code. So, accordingly, we need to add env variables to the web app. So, here's our env example. For our future developers, we will leave this pre-commented line, marked as a secret. Let them find their DSN themselves. Fine. And we will add the real DSN to the hidden .env file. Okay? Added. Now we need to go and add it to .env.ds on the front end. So, it will be our next white web app Sentry DSN, but it is required only for non-local development. Otherwise, it will be optional, which is logical. Okay, you added it to .inv. Now let's create a folder named lib and create a file called Sentry inside it, and put some helpers for ourselves there. Sentry.ts. Okay. And we will need these things, so we need to make the appropriate imports. So, look, what do we have here? We take Sentry from the Sentry React package. Now we will install them as well. Then we initialize Sentry and specify our Sentry DSN, which we received in Sentry, and we also specify our environment. This is necessary, again, so that errors that come from DS with local prod can somehow be separated, and we do this using the host env variable. Also, it requires specifying the depth that needs to be logged. We set it to 10, and that will suffice. Good. And when we've done this, our errors are already caught. But do you know what level of errors are caught? If you write here like this, throw new error. Yes, it will catch that kind of error. So, with updates, you refresh the page, and here you have, okay, we were told that we didn't pass the DSN. Let's pass the DSN now and check. All right, in order. First, make sure that we have passed the white web app Sentry DSN. Then, it's passed. All right, maybe we need to restart our web app. Restart it. We still see this error, required on node, localhost. Why, like this, white web app. Sentry DSN moment. The most terrible mistake was made, but I caught it. Classic. Typo. There. Need to check everywhere. I'll get 3. So, good. Let's do Sentry DSN. And here. And here. So, there was no typo in the config file. Good. Let's save. I also added console logs there. Okay, let's check now. Great. Everything is good. Our application is crashing, but for a different reason, because we output this error 3x. This kind of error should already be caught by Sentry, but for now, we just created our sentry.ts file, and we haven't integrated it into our application yet. Currently, this file exists, but our application doesn't know about it. We need to integrate it. But first, let's install this library. All right? We install it in WebAP, pnpm, v, install Sentry React. Okay. And we currently don't have a host.env in the end file. Let's add it. For this, we need to add something to white config.ts. As you know, we need to check here that host.env might also exist. But now, since we have 2 custom variables there that don't start with white, we won't compare them directly, but search through the array. These 2 variables are in the array, and if there's a key among them, we'll pass it through too. Okay. And accordingly, this host.env should also be added to our NFTs file. So node.non-env and then host.env. Host is already predefined with this type. There, either local or production. Okay, so, and now we have no errors in the center. Now, let's import it. Where do we import it? We import it into app.tx. So, go to app.tsx and make the import. If you don't need to import anything specific there and just need the file to connect, you can write it like this. Just lib in the center, that's all. And it gets imported. Okay, saved, like this. Let's update the app. Now it complains again that we didn't set host.env. Yes, let's add host.env. Host.env. Well, for now, let's say we're in production. Let's pretend we're in production, because here actually, no. We can specify local, but nothing will happen. Let's specify local. Mark host.env and vinv.example so nobody forgets. All right, now everything's great. Now the app crashes for the reason we specified. Now let's make sure this error gets logged centrally and see how it looks there. Okay, here you can click Take me to my error. And here we see our error. What do we have here? Some information about the user. We have information about where it happened in the code. Yeah, right now it's not very readable. Look, in this situation, to properly see the stack trace, we need to send the source map of our application here. But for now, we won't do this in this lesson. We'll do it in another lesson. It's important to understand that the error simply appeared here. How else can you see it? Here, you have projects. It was called JavaScript React. I recommend renaming it. Yours is called Web App. Let the project be called Web App accordingly. Okay? This way, you'll just go here. Projects. Here, you'll also have a backend. Enter the web app and see all the latest errors. If, for example, you've already fixed this error, you can come here and mark it as resolved. So, for you, it's just like a task manager. When some errors appear, you need to deal with them and resolve them. See here the unhandled tag. It means Sentry caught it. And not that we sent it to Sentry ourselves, and it severely crashed our app. These are the worst errors. Ideally, they shouldn't exist, but they can be. And Sentry sends them here itself. Good. All right. We see this error here when we upload the source map. There will also be a proper stack trace. All right, let's move on. We can also pass information about our user to Sentry. And then if an error suddenly occurs, we'll also know which of our users it happened to. This can also be useful. Let's tackle this. For this, we return to our Sentry TS file and rename it to Sentry TSX. Because we're going to add a component here, let's call it Sentry User, and we'll insert it into our app TSX. What will it do? It renders nothing. It just triggers on the appearance and change of me, the current authorized user. If we have this authorized user, we simply check that in Sentry TSX we can pass it through. In case some developer runs it without Sentry DSN, it won't happen. But if they do pass it, we enter this logic. If the user is authorized, we pass our user to Sentry, and we provide their email ID. The IP address can be set automatically. This is from the Sentry docs. It will just substitute the IP address. And username, we can pass the nickname here. These are the field names, username and email predefined by Sentry, which need to be sent in this format. So email is named the same. Currently, there's a slight problem because useMe doesn't return the user's email. And we can go to our endpoint and see that we're just not retrieving the email here. Let's retrieve it. All right, we're retrieving it now, and nothing is complaining at us here. We just need to add this Sentry user to our app TSX. Well, for now, let's remove this error. It's just too harsh. And we'll insert the Sentry user here. Imported. Great. Inserted the Sentry user. In this file, sentry.tsx, we also defined this function, and we can call it ourselves when we encounter an error somewhere, and send this error to Sentry from there. So it will be without this unhandled flag. Now let's find examples of where it might be used, okay? So let's add it to our form. There might be a situation where we submitted to the form and we had some onSubmit in the form, and something happened there and this error fell to us. So, basically there are two options for what might break in onSubmit. The endpoint could return an error, or maybe there's some error in the onSubmit logic itself. There are these two options. So here in the catch, we can add the following condition. Even without the condition for now, I'll add it later when it makes sense. If we get an error regardless of why, we send it to Sentry. Let's try to reproduce this scenario. On the Edit Profile page, when trying to change nickname and name, let's throw an error directly in onSubmit. Throw new error test error 1. Okay, let's comment this out. All right, so let's go to our code. First, we need to log in. We had a user JJ. Yes, he's still there. Let's go edit his profile and set a new nickname here. Update. Profile test error 1 fine. You can peek here. The request was sent in the center. But that's not so important. It's important to look at this error in the center itself. Let's go to issues. And so, got it. Let's refresh. Sometimes errors don't appear immediately and take a few seconds. We need to account for this. Moving here, see, the unhandled flag is gone because we actually caught it and our application didn't crash, but the error still occurred, and we sent it here ourselves. Let's go here. And here we also have, ideally, a normal, more or less, stack trace. We see it's in the form tx file, submitted on 43, and also in edit profile on 46. We can check. Again, we have some discrepancy in line numbers, It was said to be in line 46, but it's actually in line 24. But this issue will be fixed when we load the source map. Okay, so here it is, this error, and it basically says everything. Also, somewhere here, there should be information about our user. Well, we see his email. We see his Facebook. If anything, we can contact him and apologize for the incident. Okay? So, we added the user and learned how to send this error. There you go. But errors can occur not only in forms. It could be that, for example, in TRPC, we sent a request and an error was returned. And we'll also have error catching on the back end, and in principle, we will talk about it on the back end. But this error will also occur on the front end, so we need to catch it on the front end and report it to know why it happened on both the back end and front end, and what preceded it. With this in mind, let's add the corresponding middleware link to our TRPC. Okay, let's go to TRPC TSX and add the following code. So here we have these links. As I mentioned, it's like middleware. Here it is. And we used some predefined links from TRPC. But now we will create our own to catch errors and send them to the center. So define a custom TRPC link. So it's here. Right, we need TRPC link types. We need a TRPC router. What's complaining? Never used. Well, let's use it right away so the errors disappear and don't show up. It's easy to use. Just need to insert it into this array with links. All right, good. Well, and we need to place it higher. Okay, great. And what's it complaining about now? Because it's missing. So, where was it supposed to come from? It should be from TRPC, server observable. Okay, moment. Yes, everything is fine. It's a bit strange, but that's really how it is in the documentation. And this observable should be from the TRPC server package. Therefore, we need to install TRPC server on our client. Nothing can be done. I wrote TRPC, but apparently that's how it should be. So, let's install this dependency. Well, what we end up with is this code. It looks hard to read. Here's a function that returns. A function that returns a function. Here. But this also relates to JavaScript writing issues. So the idea here is that whatever request goes through, it hits our custom TRPC link. So, this link returns a function that takes next as an argument. But this is usually, to pass something further to the next link. And honestly, discussing this verbally isn't much easier than just looking at the code, since whether it's in words or visually, it's not clear. The main thing, probably, is to go over it briefly, that if we had an error here, and I want to make it so that if the environment is not development, but say production, we also log this error to the console, because outside development, logs are output anyway. So, here, we'll just output a regular console error to the log as well. Let it be there so we can even see the error in production. So, and then we catch this error. There. So if the backend endpoint returned an error, we send it to our Sentry. This is a function we wrote for sending errors. That's it. Basically, it means if there was no error, move on with our current links, and nothing serious will happen. That's the code. Let's check if it works. For this, we need to break something on the backend. Let's break the update profile again, and we'll throw an error here. Okay. Well, again, the types will complain, so let's do this. mass.random is a number from 0 to 1. There you go. But never 0 and never 1. So essentially, it always seems to be true. Okay? and we'll insert this at the very beginning. Good. Okay, and let's look again at our form code. There you go. We're going to have, okay, this is a separate story. Let's go step by step. First, we'll make sure we get an error from TRPC. Okay, refresh the page. Update profile. We get a random error from the server. Currently, the error is sent twice. Once, according to logic, it was sent from our wrapper for the center. Here it was caught, and the second time it was caught from our form. So, let's verify this first, and then fix it, so that it is sent only once. Okay, let's go to the center. Exits. Okay, let's refresh the page. Well, we see we have a failed to fetch. Maybe this is what we need. Failed to fetch. All right. Why do we have exactly this error? So now let's check the console log. Are there any other errors? Yes. So it might be something that crept in during server refresh, so we won't be addressing it. It's just, well, some kind of error that occurred but purely related to development. And here is our TRPC client error. Okay, here. And it got here. This is, as we see, our backend error, because it has this message. Another question, who sent this error? Did our form send it, or did our TRPC link send it? So, logically, this error should have happened twice, but it shows it only happened once. Probably, TRPC is smart, and if an error is sent twice in a row very quickly, it doesn't accept it. This didn't happen before, or maybe this error just took a while to reach it. Okay, let's place some console logs and check if we actually send it twice. Okay, so here we'll write console log sent to Sentry from form. Okay, and here we'll write console log sent to Sentry from link and request this error once again. Okay, our console number log. Yes, we really send it twice, but for some reason, it only arrives once. But apparently there's some filtering inside Sentry. I suggest we don't rely on it and add the following protection. Let's insert this condition into our form. We'll check if this is an error from TRPC or something entirely different. Here's the next code for this. So, the code will be additional in the form. All right, where's our form? Here's the form. Where's the error? Here's the error. Yes. Let's add this wrapper. We check if our error is an instance of a TRPC client error. And if it's not the case, but later we deny it, then we'll send it to our Sentry. And let's set console logs again. Console log form. And replace the console log for TRPC. Console log form. Just like that. TRPC link. Yeah. All right. And check. Now it should only be sent once, specifically from TRPC. Okay. Check. Update. And that's it. We see that the error was sent only from TRPC link. At the same time, if we break something at the form level here, again here, throw new error. Let's say not implemented. Okay? And now we submit this form and the form already sends this error. That's it. We don't send the same errors twice to Sentry just in case. Okay, let's fix our code. So let's remove our console logs. So great. Well, great. We are already catching errors. And we can move on. we need to figure out what's next. We have two problems. The first problem is the lack of proper source maps, so we can't see what's causing the issue in the code. Therefore, we need to send the source map. First problem. Second problem. During authentication, we can enter a non-existing login. Yes, we don't have such a user. This error gets sent to Sentry as well. But why? Only those errors that need to be tracked should be sent to Sentry. This error is expected, so we need to address this too. We have these two tasks which we'll solve in the next two lessons. Good. Thank you all. We can move on.